Good evening, the Galera Adrenalina group. This is Zafer. I am an English-to-Turkish consecutive interpreter. A slight difference then to the simultaneous interpreters. I have been working in this industry since year 2000, and I am so pleased to see a group of trained simultaneous interpreters like you all. I'd like to thank Ms. Selene Santos and Mr. Jordi Marquez, how hard they have worked to bring me on stage for you all to give a short speech about the translation of the language of hidden trauma. I'll be speaking about the master interpreter who forgot how to translate their own life, a journey from panic to peace. Many professional interpreters, realizing the humble truth of reality that they forgot to interpret the silence in their personal lives. We all need to step back and apply objective scientific lens to our own psychological state to make sense of these spiraling thoughts. Reviewing the layers of this occupational panic, the ghosting of the unhealed grief. These are the traumas we had in our past lives. Intense jealousy, fear of abandonment, which are trying to protect us from the future pain. Our brain becomes terrified of loss, suffocating grip on our present life, ending punishing our future because of the past tragedies. Anxiety, the biology of anxiety, the crashing dopamine and spiking cortisol, which creates a biological state of panic. And we disguise, don't want to recognize the tightness of our chests as related to the anxiety. What is truly nervous system dysregulation? Recognition of this panic, often just chemistry, but not a collapsing relationship. To understand the trauma and finding the power of safe harbor, when we let the occupational anxiety run wild like this, we risk subconsciously triggering the deepest traumas of those we love. Our loved ones need us to be an steady oak tree and a secure safe harbor, not behaving anxiously, not like an interrogator or hyper-vigilant to them. How must I apply professional skills to personal love? When a doctor delivers bad news, interpreter does not panic. They process and translate. And we all must do this at home as well, instead of saying that, oh, she doesn't like me, she doesn't love me. We just need to interpret this into, oh, she's overwhelmed. She needs a break of silence and being away all these issues that's been brought into the house. This speech is a scientific and practical guide to understand the occupational costs and providing the tools required to reverse it. How do we get exposed to trauma? Example, a typical day for a remote medical and legal consecutive interpreter. He logs into the platform. The next thing, he meets a crying mother in a hospital room. The doctor delivers a devastating pediatric oncology diagnosis. As an interpreter, he cannot summarize what the mother is saying. Our ethics is strict. Professionally, he must dictate what the mother is exactly speaking. The call ends, and he takes a sip of water. A big sigh. Sometime later, he is on a domestic violence call. He must speak as the victim says, he hit me. I thought I was going to die. He tried to strangle me, and so on. Midday, he makes a sandwich for himself, but he does not know why his shoulders are aching, why he is feeling the tight on his chest. And suddenly, he feels irrational anger when the partner sends him a simple text, a question about the groceries. But he actually just survived a morning of a severe trauma. Doctor says your child is sick. Lawyer says my client is assaulted. The consecutive interpreters do not have that wall to protect themselves. You need to wear the same shirt as the victim and speak in first person. You must say I. Neurologically, this is a dangerous requirement. The human relies heavily on mirror neurons, the cells that allow us to feel empathy. When you look at the terrified patient and saying repeatedly, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, your brain struggles to distinguish between witnessed trauma and the lived trauma. Your subconscious mind hears your own voice saying, I am in danger, and your body reacts accordingly. It floods your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate spikes, your body prepares to fight or run. This is the core of vicarious trauma. This is not caused by one massive event. It is the accumulation of micro traumas, 1,000 emotional paper cuts sustained over months of years of speaking for suffering. The illusion of living it at work. When you log off, the cortisol does not just magically disappear. If you do not process it, it will stay in your nervous system. This is why so many interpreters experience emotional numbing, chronic fatigue, and sudden outbursts of irritability in their personal lives. Because you're carrying the unhealed ghosts of people you spoke for. So, what is the tactical tool? What is the posture pivot? You cannot change the ethical requirement to use the first person I, but you can train your body to build a physical boundary. The practice introduce a micro physical boundary between your interpreter identity and your personal identity. When you are on a high trauma call, adopt a specific posture. For example, sitting slightly forward with both feet planted flat on the floor. The moment the call disconnects, consciously break that posture. Lean back, roll your shoulders, look away from the screen, and say out loud to an empty room, that was their story, not mine. I am safe. This sends a physical and verbal cue to your nervous system that the threat has passed. This breaks the flow of stress hormones before you walk out of your office and into your personal life. So, who else is carrying this wave? If an interpreter believes they are the only one suffering vicarious trauma and communication paranoia, they feel broken. This part broadens the lens. It proves to the listeners that this is not a personal failure. It is a known, measurable occupational hazard shared by the most elite, high stakes professionals in the world. An interpreter's nervous system operates exactly like that of an ER doctor, a paramedic, or a crisis negotiator. You are constantly waiting for the alarm to ring, requiring instant 0 to 60 cognitive performance. Statistical data validates the exhaustion. Studies show that 40% to 60% of medical and legal professionals suffer from clinical compassion fatigue. For interpreters handling asylum, domestic violence, and critical care, burnout rates routinely exceed to 50%. Their allostatic load, the wear and tear on the body from chronic stress, which the tables show can shorten the lifespans of high-stress professionals if left unmanaged. Adjacent professions that experience this exact same spillover effect into their personal lives include oncology nurses, criminal defense attorneys and prosecutors, child protection social workers, 911 dispatchers, and the interpreters who act as the linguistic bridge for all of them. So, what should be the thing that we should be doing? I have summarized what has all been spoken. I have summarized it all a lot, but I'm going to go through a 30-day protocol. If we can be able to train us for a time, we can be able to use that tool to recover any trauma that we're going to be living so far. Of course, we cannot end a survival guide just by diagnosing the problem, vicarious trauma. No, it gives the listeners a structured, practical 30-day plan to rewire their nervous system, protect their relationships, and reclaim their home office. I have break it down into 4 weeks, which is a 30 days period. The first week is the physiological reset. Stop the bleed in your brain. Just implement the 15-minute decompression buffer after every shift. Hydration and kinetic release movements to flush cortisol. Strict rule. After you finish your shift, you should not get involved into any emotional conversations or texting within 2 hours of logging off from your work. Just rest your brain. The second week, building the boundary architecture. It seems so easy. Building the architecture is the boundary is easy. Reclaiming your own space. It sounds very easy, but it is the big struggle because I used to work in a booth, 1 meter to 150 for so many hours. And I was really happy, but I was in a call center. I used to leave my work, take the bus, train, metro, whatever, get back home. Nothing is carried on my shoulders with me. But nowadays, remote interpreters works from home. They've got special space. They've got a nice office, big office. But we don't take the journey to work. We don't leave the house from the door saying, goodbye, I'll see you tonight to someone else. We are stuck in that spacious room, and that spacious room starts getting to compress on you, even though smaller than the booth that you were working before. So you need to create a fake commute, even if you're working at the as a remote interpreter at home. Create a fake commute before you start work. Get out of the door, lock the door, unlock the door, and think you're entering your office. Get in to your office. After you finish work, yes, you are still at home. Get out of the house. Make a small walk round the block, a simple round the block. So you think you have stopped the work. Your brain is going to start going away from the office that you were stuck for 8 hours or 10 hours, I don't know, but you need to release your brain out from that office. The 3 minute thread is the most important. Anything on your work desktop, anything, any notes, even the pens and pencils, remove them. When you get back, you are not looking at an office worktop, office desktop. It is just a normal table. Any apps, notifications from your phone screen, just slide them, delete them off. Keep doing this for 2 weeks, that you are going to start feeling different. You are going to start feeling that you're going to work and coming back from work in the same place, in the same house. And the third week is a struggle. It's the emotional regulation. How are you going to reclaim your own mind back? Is not mine exercise. Consciously naming the trauma as belonging to the client, not to the interpreter. Even if you can, in your office, shout, it is not me. It is not me. It is the client. Make it sure that it is the burden is being taken away from yourself. And the investigation. Stop investigating, recognizing that checking the timestamps or interrogating a partner is a trauma response, not a relationship solution. And the fourth week is the legacy of the interpreter. Sustainable excellence. You are going to see the benefits of sustainable excellence if you can keep doing these in your normal life. The realization that setting these boundaries doesn't make you a colder interpreter, it makes you an allied, unshakable professional. The final message to be: protecting your nervous system is the only way to ensure you live long enough to enjoy the life and the family you are working so hard to build. So, another way, how do the interpreters protect their psychological health? We are linguists, and it is so easy for us to de-rolling. Just de-rolling. After a session, consciously say to themselves, I am Zafer. Those were not my words. That is not my life. And if you have a chance to have debriefs, in the debriefs, you should refer to the client as the witness. Come out from the I factor. As the witness, the patient, or if otherwise you cannot reestablish a mental boundary with you yourself when you're debriefing the encounter. The cognitive reframing, shifting the mindset from I am observing this pain to I am providing the voice that allows this person to be heard and helped. Sensory grounding, since interpreting is a high cognitive task, interpreters use grounding holding a cold water bottle, feeling their feet on the floor, to stay in the present moment during the graphic testimony. Try occupying yourself with something else that you know you are the interpreter. And which the simultaneous interpreters usually does, pairs. Pair yourself. If you can, pair yourself in the encounter. In high trauma cases, like trials, interpreters should work in pairs. This allows one to rest and mentally step away while the other works, preventing the brain from becoming saturated. And if the organization that you're working is offering a supervision, it's called reflective supervision, actually, but specifically for interpreters, seek out, speak to them. The emotional impact that you've gone of the words that they had to speak, make sure you seek out. And we have spoken today about the tactical tools like the 3-minute threads. And to a skeptic, these might seem like simple rituals, but they are actually powerful. Behavioral placebos. Just as a medical placebo triggers the body's healing, these physical boundaries signal to our primitive nervous system that the threat is over. By repeatedly telling yourself, I am safe, and physically breaking your work posture, you are essentially biohacking your own peace and shutting off the cortisol drip that ravages the body. But the work doesn't stop with our bodies, it must reach our minds. We must remember Freud's analogy of the iceberg. The trauma we hear doesn't just disappear, it sinks into our unconsciousness. If we don't acknowledge it, it mutates. It turns into irrational jealousy, explosive arguments over minor things, or an obsessive need for control in our personal lives. As the saying goes, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Our legacy is not to pretend the darkness doesn't exist, but to shine a light on it. By naming our adrenaline crashes and establishing fierce boundaries, we reclaim our ego and our lives. We must choose to leave the tragedy in the headset where it belongs. Before I depart, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to everyone who has been here today and made this event possible. My deepest gratitude goes to Galleria Adrenalina for hosting us in such a wonderful space. A special thank you, Ms. Selen Santos, and to Mr. Jordi Marquez for their vision and support in bringing these critical topics to a light. I also want to recognize the incredible work of the simultaneous interpreters who have been interpreting in this session. Thank you for being the linguistic bridge and for doing the heavy lifting that we have discussed so deeply today. I would like to stay and speak with all of you further, but please accept my apologies. I have a pre-booked tech appointment that I must attend, so I will need to leave a few minutes early. Thank you all for your time, your dedication, and for the vital work you do every day. Stay safe.